How are you?
Yeah, I'm sat in the conservatory. Just as I sat here, the sun's come out, so I'm probably going to squint the whole time. Sun shines on the righteous, though, eh?
Well, there you are, you see. So you're obviously very righteous or something.
Yeah, I think there'd be a few disagreements about that.
I mean, anyway, who wants to be righteous?
Well, yeah,
It's
that's
such a
true.
boring bloody thing to do.
Right.
Is it sort of together?
I think so.
Do you need a hat?
I might need my shades in a minute.
Yeah.
There's plenty of clouds. It'll cloud over in a minute.
Put a nice hat on and you'll look amazing. I've done that before.
Considering Monday when we had torrential rain all day, it's quite horrendous actually.
Yeah, and yesterday was lovely.
Yes, yesterday was lovely.
Today we've got some clouds coming over, but I don't know whether we're going to get any rain, or if so, whether it'll be much. Tomorrow we're not supposed to.
So it's all a bit mixed up, isn't it, at the moment?
Well, I'm not quite sure that mixed up is what I would call it, but the effects of melting all that ice.
I'm trying not to poke the bear.
Are really sort of like coming home. And well, I've been in the state all week because Monday was the IPCC report, which at last was actually calling a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Which it could have done 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But politicians said, no, don't frighten the horses. Don't get people upset, you know. Sorry, mate. This is bigger than you.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you get, I mean, London was horrendously flooded. Did you get horrendously flooded?
No, we had to drive to Brighton on Monday. And we had to drive in all the torrential rain and the roads were horrendous. We were driving down the middle of the dual carriageways because either sides of the roads were so flooded. There was even an odd exhaust pipe on one part of the road where one car had obviously been through too deeper water and lost their exhaust pipe. It was, we were going very slowly because the vision was, windscreen wipers going like that.
I know. And your car's all right?
Yes, yeah, it was fine, thankfully. So,
because
not pleasant, and really not pleasant to drive in. But...
No, it's scary.
Yeah,
and I mean, you got the winds as well.
Yes, of course, we went to Brighton, which is the seafront, so the wind was blowing everything horizontal.
Yeah, it's sort of like, whoa, this is what Mother Nature can do, guys.
Yeah.
And this is only a little bit.
Yeah.
Sort of feeling. But yeah. No, I was asking about your car because last year we had some bad floods around here and we didn't actually go through anything deep like you. We were keeping just to, puddle sort of size. And it wrecked the electronic gearbox.
Oh, okay. Yeah, water and electronics doesn't go together very well, does it?
No, so you really do wonder about car designers because they put it at the bottom of the car.
Yes.
If you put it at the top, it wouldn't have happened. Oh, but that means redesigning the engine. Well... But then you see, you wouldn't have to pay us so much money for new gearboxes and all this kind of
there is
shit.
That.
So.
But that's not changed because I'm going back 30 years ago when I was in Young Farmers and I had my little Mini, and every time it rained, it stopped because the alternator got wet and you had to get out and dry the alternator.
Well, yeah, but at least you could get out and dry the alternator.
Yes.
I mean, there's this bloody great box thing, which is they cheerfully tell you is sealed.
Yes.
Except for the fact it leaks.
It's all technical now, isn't it? You have to plug it into the computer now to mend the car.
Oh, absolutely. But, I mean, they tell you this box is sealed. And then it isn't because it leaks. Because the water gets in. So it must leak. Never mind. Anyway, so this year, I've got a new car now. anything above 3 to 4 inches, we're not driving through it because I can't afford it.
No.
And, you know, if only I could go back to having a nice mechanical car that I could get out and dry the alternator in, I'd have one. Because I know how to do that. It's not hard.
We had a couple of years back now, we had the car wouldn't start, and the man came out and he literally had a tablet and he plugged the cable in to the car and he said, oh, it needs a software update. He did the software update and the car worked. It's mad. Absolutely mad.
Why isn't it this on the regular service?
It was just one of those blip things.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I shouldn't ask things like
one
that.
of those blips.
Shut the door a minute because I think the cat has gone out to play with Paul. Oh, that's all right. Yeah, I shall be back shortly, dear. She looked at me with, that's a lie. It won't be shortly. It'll be 3/4 of an hour at least. Oh, okay, fine. We were nearly photobombed just now because she was climbing up all around here. And I thought she was going to stay, but then Paul came out. And so, no, I'm going to see Dad. He's more
never
interesting.
tell with cats, can you? Total minds of their own. Completely.
Well, you know, dogs have owners, cats have staff.
Yes, definitely.
What do you do? I'm staff to a cat. But it is true. It is true. How's Eric liking the water? Because at his size, it's sort of like, swim, please.
He wouldn't go out. Monday, he refused to go out. To be fair, the garden was quite flooded, but no, he wasn't having any of it. He hid under the table. He must have had his legs crossed for an awfully long time.
I was just going to say, you have a doggy litter.
I don't blame him. He is a strange dog. He doesn't like water at all. He will walk round puddles on the pavement. Yeah, he's not a water dog at all.
It's funny, isn't it? Because a friend of mine had a Jack Russell a few years ago, and normally they'll go through anything. Not this one. Water, puddle, yay deep. You know. Ooh!
Yeah, that's Eric. Yeah, bit of a princess.
It's like, you're a Jack Russell. I don't care. I don't like water. I mean, we get to a stream, and it was either you left him on the other side or you picked him up and carried him across.
Yeah, that would be Eric. Yeah.
But he's not a Jack Russell.
No, but I don't think he's a rescue one. So I don't think he's full Dachshund. I think because he's quite chunky. Yeah. He's not streamlined like the Dachshunds are. I think he's got a bit of terrier or something in him.
Could be. But he's certainly got his own mind, and that is very terrier.
He's a princess, definitely. Bless him.
We're having sort of transgender problems with our Dachshund now, are we? Issues, not problems, issues. It is funny. So what have you been up to this week then, apart from going to Brighton, and what was going to Brighton about and all that?
It was, our daughter is getting married next year, and they went for engagement photos in the rain.
Oh my God. Well, it's different.
Apparently, the photographer says she's very pleased. She's got lots of good shots. So, yeah, that was, well, we had to be different, didn't we? We don't like the usual sunny, sandy beach. We're going to go for dark and moody, atmospheric photos.
Well, definitely atmospheric. It would be. Yeah,
I do quite like Brighton though. It's got its kind of own magic about it, isn't it? It's quite they're getting married in Brighton as well, so one of their favourite places. So.
I've always liked it.
Yes.
It's very weird because I'm not really a town person anyway, but Brighton has always been attractive, and the old town, the old streets are absolutely divine.
Yes.
And
over in the North Lanes where you get all the weird and wonderful shops. Yes.
Yeah. the lanes are amazing, and I actually like Prinny's Palace.
Right.
It's
Yes.
so totally bloody incredible.
I think they had some photos taken outside of that, so those should
Well,
be
you've
good.
got to, haven't you?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's the only one in the world, sort of thing.
Yeah. It's definitely got its own creative vibe about it, hasn't it? The town.
Yes, it
It's
has.
colourful. Definitely colourful.
And it seems to get. I mean, the old college there, which has now become a very good university. That's really creative. And there's a lot of people who do creative things there.
Yes.
Long ago, a thing called the Fountain Project was started there. That's one of the reasons why we used to go, which is ley lines.
Oh, right.
And this is way back in the 70s.
Right. Yes, I think I remember you saying about that before.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And there were all these people who were there and either lived there or lived on the edge of it and came there. And the fountain which is down sort of near the beach and is still there, that really spoke to 2 or 3 of these guys, and they said, okay, so we'll go and talk to it, we'll go and listen to it. And it said, yes, I'm like a fountain, be like a fountain. You can spread out all the lines from here and start this group, which is still going. It's still got a magazine going, and the people who started, I think 2 of them are dead, but it's still going, and it's still about the lines and the connections and all this sort of thing. So there's a lot of that stuff goes on involved as well. So I like it. I haven't been there for years. And I'm glad I wasn't there on Monday.
Yeah, no, it's not pleasant Monday morning. But I went to a crystal workshop yesterday, which was quite interesting too. Very nice lady who worked with crystals intuitively rather than reading all of the things from books. She went with intuition. So it was interesting because we got some different kind of insights to things that you don't normally sort of think about. So that was quite interesting too. Yeah. So it's been a busy week and it's only Wednesday.
Yes, it has for me too. But what's the name of this crystal woman then?
Do you know, she was called Jane, but I don't know. I'm embarrassed to say I don't know what her surname was.
No, because she sounds interesting.
Yes, I will find out.
I like people who, they don't necessarily dismiss the books, but they will sort of say, well, there could well be more to it than just in the books.
Yes, she was giving us her personal experiences about working with each of the crystals and saying, this is usually used for whatever, but actually I found that for me it does this. So it was enlightening to sort of hear someone say, these are my personal experiences with it. A few light bulb moments, which is good.
I think that's great. And I think it's great too, because if somebody will do that, it encourages other people to, okay, just because it hasn't got this in the book doesn't necessarily mean it isn't so.
Yes. And I think particularly with crystals, well, it's a bit like herbs and plants and trees. They've all got their own individual characters, haven't they? So 2 rose quartzes aren't going to have exactly the same energy. No. So they're all very personal and individual.
I mean, quite apart from anything else. I mean, you get this with plants too, but I mean, like the rose quartz, I mean, some of it might have come from Madagascar and then some of it from maybe South America.
Right, yeah. So it's had completely different starts in life.
Completely different geologies happening around it, although the basic, obviously, because there's a crystal seam, that basic is there, but it's a different experience.
Yes, yeah.
And they're not automatons. And when I was working in the computer industry, I was never a hardware person, but you have to know about the hardware in order to do the software. Hubby was a hardware person, and okay, you get all of these tiny little bits and bobs that make the computer go, and they're all made like in Silicon Valley, and they all come through a machine and this sort of thing. And we used to say, because we were actually developing software when I was working, and we'd say, you know, this one is not the same. This silicon chip is not the same as the one over there.
Right.
And it sort of should be, but it isn't. And they would react differently. I mean, one of our we had enormous mainframes in those days, you know, the size of 2 large fridges.
Yes.
And about, you know, 1/1,000,000th of the power of this laptop.
Yes.
It was that long ago. But one of them would always go wrong and the other one wouldn't. And they were made by the same manufacturer. It should have been exactly the same and all this sort of thing. One of them, you know, had a headache, as we used to say, and the other one was fine.
Oh, I'm convinced computers have their own personalities. Absolutely.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, why they're all bits of the earth, aren't they?
Mm.
You know,
yeah. Well, if you work with animism, I kind of think it extends, doesn't it, to
I think so. Yeah.
computers, your fridge, your cooker,
your car.
You shout at all of them when they don't work.
and all of them when they do, and they actually save you. You know, I mean, like my friend's car, its clutch was sort of all over the blooming shop, but it managed to survive and get her back home before it decided to go. And I mean, she was like 40 miles away when it all started to go wrong, and it was like, oh my God, what am I going to do, kind of thing. And yet they do somehow say, oh, please get me home, just get me home, and they get you home, and then it sort of goes bleh.
Well, we've always named our cars. Our cars have always said, Daisy is our current car. She's beautiful. And I talk to her. I tell her where we're going. I thank her when she gets me safely home.
So do I. Yes.
I like to park her so she's got a nice view.
Oh, so do I. I'm so glad I met somebody else who does this. And occasionally, you know, either you forget or you can't. And there's this sort of grumble behind you. I don't want to sit here looking at this bush. Oh, sorry. Turn around. And everybody in the car park sort of goes. And you turn them around, and then they've got a nice view out there. Or occasionally, mine have sort of said, I'm not going by that car. I'm not going to sit next to him or her. Okay, around the car park. Oh, right, we'll go in there. That's fine.
Yes, no, yeah, I'd like to park next to that Porsche, please. Yeah, no, I do that. So she's got a nice view. Yeah, so she doesn't get bored.
I'm so glad. Yeah, and
I think we've just confirmed that we are completely bonkers.
Well, I think we've just confirmed that we're completely normal, and most of the rest of the world is bonkers.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I think so. I think. Yeah. Well, the trouble is, I actually think it's probably true. Because if you did all think like that, and you all sort of cared about, you know, like the mug you've got in your hand, which I know you love, you know, if you all sort of cared about everything, like that, and you worried about it, we wouldn't. I'm convinced we wouldn't have the problems that we have now. I really think it's about not caring and treating things as things.
Yeah, it's that connection thing as well, isn't it? It's about having the connection to the car, to the house. I think we said before, I talk to my house too. I tell it if I'm going away and, you know, how long we'll be away for. And when I come back, I put my hand on the wall and say, it's all right.
So do I. Yeah. And I remember when you were having the changes done, you discussed it with the house.
Oh, we're still waiting for the changes.
Oh, right. Okay. Fine. Sorry.
Yes, we have discussed it with her, and she's very happy. She's just very impatient now, like we are.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's like getting everything going again, and so you can. But I do think if people would only like do this, it's not actually hard. And if you manage to sort of get enough bottle, somebody says, "Oh, you're weird," and you go, "Yeah, aren't you?" And so like back, don't wear it when somebody tells you that you're rubbish, send it back.
But we work with energy, don't we? It's one of the key things we do. And to me, there's no difference between electricity that's running through the computer or power that's running through the car to the energy that's in a plant or a crystal. It's all, for me, it's all pretty much the same thing.
It is. And you've just pulled my geek out again. I'm sorry. But the greatest geek, one of the greatest geeks of the last, probably forever, Einstein, said, and it's actually a short way of saying his E equals mc squared thing, matter is compressed energy.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is energy, but it's going slower than energy that isn't in the shape of a pen. And everything is energy. So, where does science disagree with us in that way?
I think we said again before, for me, magic and science go hand in hand.
They do. They do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I've said before that, I've met some really good scientists. And when they ask me, and I'm fairly down to earth about what I do, and they sort of go, "Oh, well, that sounds like so-and-so's theorem, or that sounds like quantum, or something like that." So, we end up with this jab, 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 jab. And we decide that we're using different languages and they see things differently than I do. But there isn't that much difference.
No, essentially it's the same thing.
It is energy, and everybody's working with energy.
I have actually a lovely student who is a geologist. So when she works with crystals, she doesn't look at the books. She doesn't necessarily work with the magical side of it, but looks at the composition of the crystal. So she looks at all the different elements that the crystal is made up with and works with the energy of those, which I think is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I do. And she's probably finding a lot of the same sort of things, but in a different way.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's lovely. One of the the woman who taught me, she used to be, her name now is Stephanie Harrison, which you may have heard of her. She been doing crystals big time for 30 years, must be. And she taught me, and she was really deeply into crystals. This was back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so she read lots of books, but she was very intuitive, and we'd come through the same teacher who encouraged us to be intuitive. And so she said, "Yeah, okay." And she said, "No, I actually need to know the composition of this." So she went off and got herself a geology degree.
Like you do.
And she just did it. And she's a sort of woman who would. And well, I suppose we all are, because, if we really want to do something, we're going to do it. And that's it.
Yeah.
So she got all of that and all the magic training, and her family were all from the old ways too. So, she was pulling all that in, and what people had found in books and all this. And she became a really, really brilliant teacher. And she taught other people to teach, and now they go off and teach as well.
Yeah.
And this sort of thing. But it was quite fascinating. And she had to go where the crystals were. So, I mean, she went off to Madagascar for a month.
Oh, right.
And then she went off to South America for a month. And then she went off to North America for a month, and this sort of thing. And fortunately, her dad and her uncle were fairly well off, and she got a good job. So she could actually get off and do this kind of thing. But she said it was, I've got this, and, I am fortunate. I've landed in this place with money. Let's use it for something useful. And let me learn this, and then I can help other people to learn.
It makes sense to me to learn about the foundation of it all. It makes absolute sense to me.
It does me too. And I mean, I try and get people, well, I get people to do it with plants and animals and trees and things like that when I'm working with them. How does that work? How is it doing this? You're working with these trees, but how does this tree work as opposed to that tree work?
Yeah.
Why is this one, what is this one getting out of being deciduous, and what is that one getting out of being coniferous, kind of thing? And they do find that once they get into that as well, that it all, as you're saying, it's all these energies, they all come together. And
I think it makes sense, though. I was talking about animal magic last week, and for me, if you're working with an animal, it really helps to look at the whole, not just the animal, but how it lives, where it lives, whether it lives in a family unit or whether it's solitary, how it deals with its young or its mates, or the whole kind of big picture.
Yeah.
So that you can then work with the energy. And I think the same with plants.
Yeah.
If you've got a plant there are a lot of plants that don't have, for want of a better word, traditional magical correspondences. Look at the plant, see how it grows. How tall does it grow? Is it a climber? Is it a dwarf one? What color is it? What seed heads does it have? And to me, that all helps narrow down the magical properties of it all.
And also, picture, yeah, I agree. And also, it also expands them, because one of the things I get the Rainbow Warriors doing is actually growing a bean seed. Bean seeds are great, because they're yay big, and you can just do them on a piece of blotting paper and that kind of thing. And you
we
watch
did that at school.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah. Oh, God knows whether they still do it at school. I hope so. But and you watch that, and they may have done it at school, and they do, and they sort of go, it's quite incredible watching it. And you come down this morning, and you saw it when you went to bed last night, and you look at it, my God, what have you done?
That leave me alone for 5 minutes.
You watch what the root bit has done and what the shoot bit is doing, and how the bean body bit is working on and falling apart gradually. And they say that really shows me so much. And the fact that it can do this, and all I've done is lie it in the sort of warm, light place on some wet blotting paper, tissue, and that's all I've done. And it can do all this, and it knows how to form all these bits of itself. And you sort of go, I don't know how to do that. I couldn't do what you're doing. And that's magic.
Yeah, that's Mother Nature doing her thing, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. And it's so big and so gorgeous, and you sort of think, we've got a lot we can learn just by go and sit and watch the garden.
Well, it's that we are back to the connection, to the watching, to listening, isn't it?
But
taking in the surroundings as well, and other things that affect it or come together to make it work.
Like difference in sunlight, and like how the year goes, and you're coming up to midsummer and there's more and more light, and then you're after midsummer there's less and less light. And seeds, your seeds don't germinate as quickly as they did before midsummer. And that's because of the light sort of thing. So these plants know this and you sort of watch it all happening, and you think, I do really live in a magical world. I don't understand most of it.
I don't understand most things.
But we none of us do. And when you get the really good sort of boffins and scientists and that, they sort of say, well, we know a little bit. We know how to make this happen. But there's so much else out there we don't understand yet. We just don't know.
But that's all learning it and experience too, isn't it? And things change over time, don't they? At one time they thought the world was flat. So and that was the scientists.
If you're Terry Pratchett, it still can be.
It's still flat. Yes. This world is always flat.
Absolutely.
But we learned, don't we? And that was our scientists.
It was. and we thought that the sun went round us. You know,
because we are so important.
Oh, absolutely. You know, bloody hell.
But yes, that was the scientists of the time, wasn't it? That was the people that were learning, or the learned people.
And then
things do change, don't they? But
they do. And I mean, some of those poor souls, you know, who sort of said, actually, you know, we do have this around the backs of our necks. And because, you know, there was so much of the Christian church was so in charge of everything. You can't possibly say that. And if you're going to say that, we're going to lock you up or burn you or do something foul to you.
Yeah.
And it seems that in most cases, we don't do that to people. Though there's still a bit of it around in the world. So you are allowed to change, is my point.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's important.
Oh, yeah. There's things I did at the beginning of my spiritual journey that I do completely differently now because I've learned better ways or different ways of doing it that suit me more.
Yeah. One thing I find with the students is, you know, they usually come and they sort of think, you know, oh, we need to do a sort of a half-hour ritual of this or a half-hour journey on that or something like that. And you sort of walk through gently for the first 2 or 3 months, but gradually walking towards, and I mean, there's the earth sun exercise that I do. And when they start off, I make them do it slowly so that they know what they're doing and you're doing each bit and this sort of thing. And, you know, come Imulk, they will start at Samhain. And come Imulk, you're sort of saying, how fast does it take you to do the earth sun now? Oh, I can just do it.
Yeah.
No, you do not need half an hour. You do it first because you can't remember what to do. I remember how slow you were when you were driving, everybody. You know, even walking took a little while to learn. But then you do it and you just do it naturally. And that's what, and I think that's what your students get too, isn't it? That they find that they're doing things naturally.
Yeah.
Easily, quickly.
Yes.
You know, they go to their bottle of tinctures and go, oh, is that one and that one? Yep, that's right. And they can't really tell you why. Well, they could if you sat down long enough, but it doesn't matter because you're just getting on with doing whatever it is you need to do at that time.
I think it takes a while to trust that, doesn't it? It does take time, effort, experience really to get to that point. But I think that's the same with anything, isn't it? Yeah.
Getting over the fact that you're not supposed to have an intuition and it doesn't work anyway. Sorry, just put that one back in the box and put it on the shelf and we'll carry on normally. Okay. Back to being bonkers again, you see.
But then what's normal really? It's a word we use a lot, isn't it? Normal.
Yeah.
But who sets that kind of guideline? Who sets the little box that has all of the little, to be normal, you must do A, B, C, D?
Probably whatever guy, whatever people are allowed to be in charge at the moment. Well, it's true, isn't it? You know, I mean, school SATs, and, you know, that comes down up and down through all the hierarchies of school as to what you know, this is normal, this is where you should be reading like this now at this age. And you sort of go, why are you trying to make everybody the same? Why are you trying to, you know, why we're turning out, well, I know why we're turning out flower pots, hopefully lots of you know too, but you wouldn't make everybody the same and then they're easier to control again. Sorry, I'm an anarchist.
My kids have always done really well at school, but I'm lucky that they both have completely unique individual characters. That may have been me.
I suspect it might have been a bit of both of you even, but yes. And I mean, there's no reason why you don't. I mean, it's like we're saying with the crystals. You know, you can read all the books, and then this lovely lady Jane that you met, she knows what's in the books. You know, this is usually used for so and so, but actually, I find so and so.
Yeah.
So you're not pushing that away to have this. You're saying we can have all of it.
Yeah, let's bring it together. Bit from this, bit from that. Yeah.
And that it's okay to read the books, and which it always is. I mean, as long as you remember that books are written by people, even if they're totally brilliant goddesses like us.
Yeah, I might have.
I saw that from everybody.
Maybe a crystal magic book that I wrote.
Absolutely, which is totally brilliant.
But I think you have to start somewhere, don't you? You do have to start with a reference point. So books or internet or courses or whatever are good. But even, 30 years on my spiritual pathway, I still do courses. I'm doing 2 different lots of training. At the moment, I'm doing an Avalon one. I'm doing a Water Priestess one because I love learning. I love taking all of the experiences that other people have to offer and seeing what I can get from it to add to my own pathway. So I love learning.
And I find reading really, really helps. You read what somebody else has said about being in this situation or this particular thing, and you go, oh, yeah. And then you think, I could try that.
Yeah, different perspectives, isn't it?
And there are so many, and you can pull all of these things in together. You don't have to reject bits of it. I think probably it's a good idea not to do too many things all at once. Certainly not until you're fairly experienced at juggling balls.
Yes. You've got to find your way first, haven't you?
Pick something and keep going with it until you really can't stick it any longer. And if that's 2 weeks, that's fine.
Yeah.
Or if it's 25 years, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then add things in gently as you've got time, as you feel you can absorb them. And when you read that this is different from that you already knew, you're not going to feel too confused about it. You're just going to say, okay, well, look at that there and look at that there. I see. And then you can go on and learn. But you've got to keep on practicing your learning nerves or your learning muscles. And just as you're doing, otherwise you don't get that. If you decide that's it and you're done and that's how things are, well, that's how things are, and you shut the lid on the box. There's no room for any more to come in.
I think you have to do it too, don't you? I spent a long time reading things and because my journey started way before the internet, so books were all I had, so I read lots of stuff, but it was a long time before I felt confident enough to actually do something, to do a ritual or to work a spell, because I had all this knowledge in my head that I'd read from all of these books, but I wasn't confident enough to actually put it into practice. But when I did, that was when I learned probably more than I'd learned from all of the books I'd read, putting it actually into practice and walking the talk, really, I guess.
I think that's where doing people's courses, and obviously I shall now sort of say, Rachel's courses are totally brilliant, so do that kind of thing, and she'll probably say the same thing about mine. But no, doing other people's courses.
Do have a look at Elen's courses. You've got some new ones.
But I think going and doing it with somebody who's happy to do it is a great help too, because
having practical stuff to do, having exercises and practical tasks to do, I think.
Go and try this.
You learn so much from actually doing it. And
then come back into whatever group you're in, however the group is. And it's fine on the internet. I mean, 2 years now, it's absolutely fine having your group on the internet and doing it. And coming back and sharing. And somebody said, oh, well, when I did it, it did so-and-so. And you go, oh, and so everybody... opening up all around. But doing it, you can't just read it. And I think that goes for anything.
Oh yeah,
Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's sort of knitting or sewing or gardening or being a scientist or driving a car. I mean, you can read all these books about driving a car, and then when you actually get to do it, you go, "Oh my God!"
I've got all the theory.
Doesn't feel like that at all when you're doing it. Yeah. So you must go and actually do it. And I suppose that's where having a teacher somehow or another is really helpful, because you sort of go, "Oh my God, what happens if it goes wrong?" And well, I'll pull you out of it. It's all right. Let's go on with it. I'll pick you up and put the pieces back together. So let's go. Because you are that scared.
Yeah.
People can
I can remember being terrified of doing my first spell, in case it all went horribly wrong.
Because you also, with all this reading, you've also learned about all the awful stories about when it did go wrong for somebody else.
And I still have had spells go horribly wrong over the years, but we learn from them.
We do. And I think too, it's like, this is not true. I have done things which have been irreversible. And I think we can all of us say that.
Yeah.
And that's a whole new set of learning, that you learn what to do, because you can't put the milk back in the bottle.
No.
You can't put this back to being right again. And so that's a whole new set of learning. It's also very useful learning and magical learning. Not that I'm saying that's a good reason for getting it wrong in the first place, because it isn't. But most of the things that we do wrong are usually okay. The worst problem you've ever got is if you're working with healing. And then you must be careful.
Yeah.
And you really must. And that's when you really need your otherworldly guides to help you, because they probably will stop you harming somebody else.
Yeah.
It's almost certain. Nothing's ever totally certain. But you do need that, and you need the care. And I don't know whether you probably do this too, but I mean, the first thing you do if somebody asks you for healing is you get together with your guides, your gang, and you sort of say, "Should I be involved here at all?" And you get no sometimes.
Work, aren't there? There's bigger things at work in the universe that might have other plans.
And what this person wishes of you might not be in their best interest at all, although from the outside it might look as though it is. And so the first thing is you check with Otherworld, and your gang will also be in touch with that person's spirit.
Yeah.
Who will know a lot better than that person's personality what they need.
Yeah.
And may not be able to get through. So you've got to be prepared that no, sometimes Otherworld do not want you to be involved there.
I do say what you want isn't always what you need.
No.
And the universe generally knows better than you do.
Yeah. And it's worth running with that. It really is. It can be very useful. I get sometimes, I've got rheumatoid arthritis and osteoporosis and all this kind of rubbish. And every now and again, I get somebody saying, "Oh, well, you're a healer. Why don't you cure yourself?" And usually I smile and walk away because it's easier.
It's not worth the grief.
If you're asking that question in the first place, then I'm not actually sure where to start with the answer. I don't, because I have asked about my conditions, and I am told always, you stick with it. You need these. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's painful. Yes, it means you can no longer dance. Yes, it means you can no longer run up hills and things. But you need these for other reasons. And gradually over the years, since 1983 or 4, I've had these things. You learn what the use of them is. And so this can be for other people just as easily as for me. So, you know, it's like you have to be careful not to get in the way of what other world want.
Yeah.
Have you got a person down there?
I have got a squeaky dog by my feet.
Are you doing all the wrong things, Rachel?
He wanted attention, didn't you?
Oh. Does he want to come up and
He can,
photobomb
but his
us?
dining room chair beside me is a bit high for him to get up on.
You might need to lift him up then,
Yeah,
so that we can do this thing. Excuse us, we have to deal with it. You know, Eric is an important member of the family.
There we are. Right, he's up on his chair now. He's right now. Right now.
He needs to be part of things.
Yeah, he's happy now.
No, I've lost my other half. She's deserted me for Dad. She was up on the chair the same sort of way.
He's out here because he likes sitting in the sunshine. Don't you?
I don't blame him, especially when there is some.
He likes to sit in the doorway and survey his estate, and then wait for any pigeons because he does like to bark at the pigeons, don't you? I don't need licking, thank you.
Yes, you do. Absolutely.
It's just going to check out the plants now.
Yeah.
You don't want to sniff those. There's cactus in there.
It's as bad as hedgehog, Eric. Honestly, very similar.
Oh, he's happy now. Oh. See, princess demanded attention. Got it.
There you are. You see. Yeah, absolutely right. I wanted to ask advice.
Oh dear.
Possibly everybody.
I can't imagine I've got anything that you don't know.
Right. So what it's about is, as you know, I'm working on this whole idea of masterclasses and things.
Yes.
And in the middle of this, I got chucked the rewilding ball, which is very heavy, and I keep having to play with it and chuck it up and down. And as anybody who's watched my blog on Monday night will know, I'm in quite a state about it. But just being in a state is sort of all very well, but it's a fat lot of use to anybody, really. I mean, well, it might be useful, but I need to do more than just be in a state. And so the whole masterclass, I just love the way other world do this. They sort of feed you a little bit, and you take it, and then they feed you a little bit more. And it's awful. Anyway, they do. So they fed me the idea of masterclasses, and they led me on with some good ideas, but then those ideas are not going to happen until next year now. I know that. And then they threw the rewilding ball at me, and which is fine because I've always had it. I've always loved it. And then since the past week really, and 10 days, it's sort of like what we need you to do first is some little master classes, like 1.5 to 2 hours.
Okay.
And you need to do them on. Now, I had to write this down. I'm sorry.
I've got notes everywhere. My husband laughs at me when I get my pencil out. He says, "You do know it's 2021, don't you?" Pencil and my notepad. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually like writing.
I do.
I mean, I'm not very good at it because these don't work, but I can handle it, provided it's big and nobody expects me to keep to the lines. Which I don't, so that's all right. So what they want is me to do little 1.5 to 2 hour masterclasses on what they've called the tools of the trade for rewilding your heart.
Nice.
Well, it sounded nice to me too. So guys out there, does this sound good to you? Little masterclasses, there'll be webinars, and they'll be active, so you'll have to do some stuff as well in the 1.5 to 2 hours, and they're on the very basic tools of the trade for rewilding your heart.
I like the sound of that.
So that sounds good. So if you like to make a note in the comments here, guys, about that, we will pick it up and I will run with it, because I think it is a good idea. It feels right to me. They dumped it. I was gardening yesterday, so I had by about sort of 5 o'clock, it was sort of like but the sun was out, so I was in my garden chair with a cup of tea, and so they dumped it on me then, which was really nice of them. And I thought, actually, yeah, I can handle that.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
So that's what we will be doing. And there will be one this autumn. Again, I'm not quite sure when yet, because October is very busy, so it's probably not going to be until November.
They've got you on your toes at the moment.
So what's new, Rachel? But it's probably going to be sort of like November time, but not right into December, because we all get sort of harassed from winter celebrations and things like that.
Isn't it? Yeah, November good.
So November sort of time, and I definitely think it shouldn't be more than 2.5 hours at the most.
No.
1.5 hours is all right, but we might be a bit tight on the time people need to chat and the time people need for the exercise is not so bad, but the time people need to talk about it afterwards.
Yeah. When I do my Friday morning chats, I quite often find that it's got to the hour and I've still got loads of stuff to cover. And I have to do a quick kind of summing up right at the end. So an hour and a half, probably not quite long enough.
Which is why I sort of thought 2 hours and a little exercise. I'm going to do them on Zoom and use the breakout rooms and everything, so that I'll sort of send 2 or 3 of you off into different rooms and say, do this, and I'll come and get you in 10 minutes, kind of thing. And then you come back and you share what you've got with everybody else, and then we make some notes and decisions about it. And they'll probably be done on the basis of PowerPoint, so that you've got headings and some pictures and things like that to keep you going. So people will, after you've done the course, I can send you the PowerPoint.
Right.
So you can check on your notes again. You haven't got to make too much. Make your notes of what you think, but you haven't got to remember the whole jolly boy.
Yeah, because you want to sort of process things for a bit afterwards, don't you? And you need a bit, because my brain forgets stuff.
And that's the other thing that was part of it, was after they've done the masterclass, I wonder, would people say, sorry.
He couldn't get down off the chair himself, sorry.
Yeah, I heard. I wonder, would people like some sort of processing time with me for an hour, say a week later or a fortnight later?
That would be good, just in case they've got any questions or things that have come up that they're not sure how to deal with. I like it.
And to share things that have come up as well, because I think that helps, and you haven't just been chucked out into the universe again,
left to process it on your own.
Well, the psychologist in me says that's not a good idea. People like a little bit of support to process things.
Absolutely.
So I thought we might do that. Okay, well, I'll work on that, and if you guys out there can actually put some stuff in the comments, then I'll use it and come back with something more or whatever.
Sounds like a plan to me. Yeah, excellent.
Well, there you go. You are invited as well, madam.
I think November's a good time too, isn't it? Because October's usually quite busy with all the Samhain stuff, and as you say, December's a bit hectic, and November's kind of a good month to be starting to go inward and things, sort out all of this and this. Yeah.
And to start a new process, because it is another variation on New Year. I mean, New Year happens at all the seasons, actually. And Samhain is one of them. And back to these books and things again, it isn't necessarily everybody's New Year.
No.
But it is a new year, because this is Samhain to Samhain again, which is a year. You know, midwinter to midwinter, Imbolc to Imbolc is a year, all this sort of thing. So you are starting a new thing. So it won't actually be on Samhain. It'll be a little bit after Samhain, probably. We've got the 5th of November. After the 5th of November. Because otherwise that's going to get just too complicated. So say the middle of November, we'll plan for.
Sounds good.
And then you could have like a processing hour near the end of November, and then it could be like, bye guys, have a great midwinter, see you next year for the next one, kind of thing.
Sounds brilliant. Yeah, I love it.
Thank you. Well, this is why you have friends and colleagues in this stuff, isn't it? So you can bounce ideas off them, and then sort of say, "Well, I wouldn't do that if I were you. It sounds like rubbish to me." Or they can say, "That's great." Or how about if you? And this is what people are for. This is what we're going to want to do on the webinar. So
it's opened up so many opportunities, hasn't it? It really has.
Yeah. You know, that's another thing. We probably better consider doing one next year. Oh, deathly hush.
I didn't hear what you said. Say that again.
We two had better consider doing a webinar on something next year.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. No, sorry.
God, I thought I dropped a lead balloon there.
No, the dog's digging holes in the carpets.
Oh, right. No, it won't be a webinar on dogs digging holes in the carpet. It's all right. It's all right. We're not going there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we'll have a sort of mutter and chatter about it, and we'll see what we can do for early next year, spring or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Work on it. So,
up for that. Right. Well, I think that's left us at a good point. So, lots of comments for Ellen's ideas.
Yes, please. Lots. I need your input too, guys. So help me.
And that will all come together. Sounds fantastic. So brilliant.
It does indeed. Well, don't get too wet in the meantime.
Well, we've got blue skies here at the minute, so hopefully it stays that way. Because the garden's really suffered from the battering of the rain. So
that's true. That's for everybody, isn't it? So
yeah,
I hope everybody's got a bit of respite from the rain for a little while anyway. Yeah.
Excellent. Cool.
Okay,
well, we'll leave you percolating your ideas. In a couple of weeks.
Do that thing, and bye-bye, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Take care.
Take care.